All right, it's Wednesday, March 18th, 2026, and gonna take you on a walk around Buffalo Bayou Park. We'll be head by the Houston Police Memorial. Some of my coworkers are memorialized. They're real heroes, legends. But anyway, today we're gonna talk again about intersexual dynamics and the importance of, understanding relationships. And this one, I would say, you always want to be the alpha seed, not the beta need. You're going to see another beta need, wonderful man, come to his demise because he didn't recognize what was important, and he didn't recognize when a woman doesn't like you and when a woman doesn't respect you and how important that is. That doesn't mean he's not a good guy. It's just that wasn't something that he would recognize, in my opinion. I watched the trial closely. It's the Adelson case, and the individual we'll talk about, who's once again a wonderful man. Everybody described him as a wonderful man once again. I mean, these are trends we're seeing. Extremely brilliant. Another guy accomplished in his career. It was going to be rising. I don't know what his salary was. I guarantee it definitely 6 figures. Let's just say at least top 10% of earners, income earners, probably higher than that. So, money wasn't going to be a big issue for this guy, Daniel. He graduated from Harvard Law, I believe, but he graduated from Harvard. That's, Harvard Law. One of the premier institutions in the world, and especially for law. And he was his specialty was criminal law, which is kind of ironic, but because he's killed in a murder, which is obviously criminal, and taken out by criminals. He was married to Wendy Adelson, and Wendy Adelson was they both were Jewish. An ex-boyfriend of Wendy's who testified and broke a lot of stuff in the case. Jeff Lacoste said she was an atheist Jew. That's what he said. I don't know, but it didn't seem like she practiced very heavily. She never was at the temple with him and stuff, his friends said. But they got married. I don't know what year they got married, but they have 2 children, 2 boys. Everyone said Daniel Markel was an absolutely awesome father. Loved his boys, was so involved, engaged. I mean, they were his world. Which everybody's like, we need more fathers, we need better fathers. I mean, yeah. Anyway, they were his priority, and that's what ends up kind of costing him a little, everything to a certain degree, because the big issue was relocating to South Florida. Wendy wanted to relocate to South Florida. They lived in Tallahassee, Florida. He was a professor at Florida State University, and so was she. But Wendy wanted to relocate to South Florida to be by her parents. She's like a mama's girl, Her family is overly involved in her life. They're kind of what was described. They were different, and so Donna Adelson was convicted of conspiracy to murder. She was upset that he had won the I guess it was a motion or whatever. Basically, he won the right to not have her relocate to South Florida, and her and everybody in that family was like he was the devil, and everything would be fine if she could get to South Florida. Who's keeping her from coming to South Florida? Daniel Markel, and actually after the murder, she moved to South Florida within a week. Go figure. I mean, all the stuff she did was highly suspicious. I mean, there's only so many coincidences you can have, right? In addition to, and I'm going to skip around, I just have so much information on this case. I'm going to do probably several videos, so if I'm a little disorganized, there's just tons of information on this. But it's a good one to see, just how you need to operate within relationships. Because Daniel Markel, like I said, already at the wedding, he's getting disrespected. I mean, right there, she's not taking your name. It's like, come on, bro, hello, just doing all kinds of things, not cooperating at all. how the divorce occurred was, one of those Dear John things. He goes to New York University to give a speech. Like I said, he was a rising star in the field of law, and he goes to give a speech at New York University. As he gets off the plane, Wendy lets him know, I'm leaving, which we all know that process had been in place way before she left. So all these newly divorced men know this, and those getting divorced know this. And if you look like you may be getting divorced, she's making a plan you don't know about probably. But anyway, her mom had come in a week before. She told him she was getting a divorce. She had already filed, didn't tell him. She had all the papers. She had moved money already to make sure she had money. So she calls him, so bless her heart, calls him and tells him, we're done basically. And he's obviously, his, like I said, his boys, family, kids, wants that nuclear family, wants the traditional family. And he just rocked, and he kind of, there was different stories of like, they said he begged or whatever. I'm sure he was heartbroken. And so he's like, let's work it out. Don't do this, They had already gone to marriage counseling, which we all know that doesn't work. It has to be burning desire. That's why all this beta stuff don't work. So, but anyway, so she tells him, and, he's so beside himself, he takes the first plane back. I don't know if he even gave a speech, but if he did, they said he took the first plane back. He came back to Tallahassee, Florida from New York. I think he arrived like at 2 o'clock, and he was back in New York at 11 o'clock, thinking that he's going to be having a conversation with his wife and changing her mind, maybe, which you never do that. But, no, she was gone, and all his furniture was gone, and the kids were gone, and she left the divorce papers on the bed, which she testified to. Yeah, she did that. Yep, absolutely. And she has no remorse. She at trial, she was like, yep, I've been telling him that I want a divorce, and, had no, because the lawyer confronted her about it. You dropped a bomb on him. She's like, she took offense to it. So you think they're going to give a damn? Nah. And that's if a woman's filed a divorce, dude, break up, walk off, you can't. It's irreconcilable at that point. So there you go, right there. And check this, here we go. That's disrespect. Daniel should have known, dude. And then go to, after she gets divorced, she won't tell him where she lives. He has no idea where his kids are living. I mean, this guy's been he never obviously, abused her. And she admits never having abuse, never being physical, yet she did say that, here's another one. She had, and so on cross-examination, they read emails, and in the emails, they didn't refer to him by his name, which is a huge red flag. You're getting disrespected. You know what I'm saying? This lady has no respect for her. You can't work with this person. His mom and Wendy said she came up with the name, and it's a Jewish slur, I guess. I never knew the name. I'm not Jewish. But they called him gibbers. And I knew when I heard that word, I didn't know what it was. I said, that's a derogatory term, I can just tell by the way, if you're not going to call someone by their name, you already got problems, and that's a dehumanization. That's a dehumanization technique, just like in war. What do they do? Charlie, and I'm not going to go into the slurs, but because that's, but we all know they dehumanize. That's why they dehumanize the enemy, but that's what she's doing. He's not Daniel Markel, father of my child, man I used to love and marry. No, he's gibbers. And this right here is what we all need to understand. Things like this, look for things like this, but understand that's probably, what she's thinking when she gets divorced from you. That's why it's ruthless. I said number 1 or number 0. So you're number 0. anything's possible. Protect yourself, stay far away, and again, even with kids, I don't have kids, but these custody battles and, women find a way to torture you with your kids. And that people can, but, it's tough, but no one should be able to control and abuse you. Even if she's trying to use your kids, I know it's going to be controversial. Walk off, okay, you can't fight that. You can't fight that. As hard as it may be, walk away. Okay, I'll contact them when you're out of their life or something. I know that's hard, but that's how serious it is. I mean, there's cases where, there's one going on right now. A female doctor, she was so upset and wanted to piss the husband off that, they had to have a funeral for her 4-year-old she's being charged with murder now of her, but because she wanted to get back. These custody battles anyway, I digress, but that's what ended up, being the cause of, Danielle's or Danny's, stuff. So, but yeah, so, and here's the thing, she was crafty, but the good thing about court and cross-examination and especially arguing with women is that women will gaslight, they'll deflect, they'll change the argument, move the goalpost. We all know this, right? That's why you don't argue with women. Law number 9, win through your actions, never through argument, right? Yeah, so, but in cross-examination, they can try to gaslight, but the lawyers can then redirect. No, this is my question. They will always try to answer a different question or have something else to say, and then you'll see women get their butts checked in cross-examination in the courtroom setting, because it's made to where you can't run. My question was, what was it the other day? It was, I was watching it yesterday, and she asked Wendy, she said, how long did it take for you to, I think it was change their names to back to 8. She changed the kids' names from Markel, the dad's name, to back to Adelson. Another F you to Danny. Can't even, ruthless, man. Can't even let the kids have the father's name. Now, she don't care. No, the murder happened in July 14th, and 2014. And I think, by the time they make it to school, she's changed their names. And she gave a BS reason that there was media attention and the kids were in danger. So she changed the name. No one knew the name Markel. It was Adelson, because your brother, your mom, and you are under the spotlight and are suspects. No one knew Markel. They knew him as a victim, but so she changed the kid's name back to Adelson to say no. It was, she was disgusted by her husband, because she didn't respect him. And I said, I don't mean it in a bad way, but women are disgusted by you. You're like, trash. I don't want to get that on me. I don't want to get trash on me. His name was trash in her eyes, She also did things like, there was a ring that she took, and she wouldn't give it back. It was his uncle's ring. Not even in her family, And she won't give it back. She said, well, if you have the uncle call me, or whatever, I might give it back. I might. The uncle call you? I'm like, come on, man. So yeah. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff this lady, and her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, Jeffrey Lacoste, after she was divorced, what I talk about is she gets caught basically cheating on him, and he said, we'll get into that. But anyway, she gets caught cheating on him. He goes to a coffee shop, and she's there with like an ex-boyfriend that he thought was, they were ex. Well, apparently she's not. She got caught red-handed, allegedly. And so he confronts her. He's pissed. He confronts her, and he's like, and what she was worried about, what did I say already? That women are image controllers, reputation controllers. Nothing wrong with that. Feature, not a bug. But she wasn't worried about him being mad at cheating. She was worried that he was going to ruin her reputation by exposing her affair with this guy or whatever. So, that's what she was worried about, you know? And so, also, this wasn't the only guy, you know, she was sleeping with at the time. He starts naming all these people, right? And one of her best friends, who in a deposition, that's like under oath, in a deposition, one of her best friends testified to the fact that one of the reasons they're not friends anymore after this murder and stuff was that she was dating. But she was making guys think that they were the only one she was dating. But she had a roster. What do we every chick has a roster. You know, I'll say almost every chick, especially if they're in a dating process. If you're not exclusive with a chick, if you're brand new to her, she's got a roster. You know, this is something they don't want you to know. You know, just like, you know, Wendy, she didn't want them to know. It's fun, which is fine. I understand that. But these are things we need to know. You know, the reason you need to know that is because you don't need to be selling the farm on your first date because, you know, you're still you're on rotation, bro. You know, so, you just go slow. You know these things. There's nothing wrong with it, and I have no problem with it. The problem I have with it is that men don't know. Men are ignorant of this. You know, so, you know, these are the things that we need to know. You know, so that we take our time. You know, and we see if she's dropping her roster for us, or is she, you know, if she's not making time for us. Her actions will tell you, right? So, anyway, going back to the Markel murder, like I said, I'm going to digress. But, so what ends up happening is, Wendy, I guarantee, you know, like I said, does seem like a master manipulator. But she is bitching to her mom all the time. And as we've seen, I definitely have seen, I'm 50 years old, I've dated tons of women. You know, I'm not flexing. I just like women. I've been out here dating a lot. I like it. Made a lot of mistakes. I've learned, so try and teach from my mistakes, right? But women and their stories about their exes, we all know, and everyone laughs. I was abused. You know, I was terrorized. Narcissist. We all hear that. Narcissist. You know, and then they were just sweet angels. You know, so she was going around saying how bad Daniel Markel was. You know. And her mom buying it, her brother was buying it, and at this point, everyone's hating on him. He's a sociopath, abusive sociopath, you know. And he's the ex-boyfriend, you know, was talking to the police. He's like, I hated Danny until I found out different. You know, wasn't that bad of a guy, you know. So, but anyway, yeah. So mom then, you know, is talking to her, you know, Charlie, and Wendy's talking to Charlie. So all these people, you know, on her lies. This is why, you know, be careful who you believe, and especially women's stories. If you don't know the other side, I always say, number one, I tell women, I'll tell straight up. Number one, I don't want to know any past guys anyway. I don't care. I don't want to know. I say, I don't know the guy. I don't know. You know, shut him down. You know. I said, because you're turning me off. I tell them, you're turning me off. I don't want to hear about it, you know. And, you know, some will say, hey, thank you. And some will go crazy. Well, then now you know, right? Yeah, so it ends up that Charlie ends up, after they win the custody battle, as far as her not relocating, then Charlie ends up hiring Fredo, Garcia, and it was Luis Rivera. He hired them, and Fredo Garcia is the one that ends up shooting Daniel Markel twice as he pulled into his garage. He shot him twice in the head, and he survived for a day, and then he succumbed to his injuries. But yeah, I mean, you know, he was on the phone. So here you go. Another FU was Wendy, his ex-wife. You know, she doesn't tell him that she's changing the kid's school. She just changed them, and it was big. It was a big deal for him. Like I said, his boys were his life, and it was a big deal for him to have them go to a very good Jewish school. Well, she just picks a school, you know, and doesn't tell him Like, until the last day, until he can't do anything about it, right? I mean, if a woman's doing that, dude, I mean, and Danny would be like beside himself, like, I don't know, I don't know why she did it. He would be frustrated. There's no reason to be frustrated. You know, she's telling you who she is. You know, he should have known this woman hates me. She hates my guts. And doing this, I mean, this is over the top stuff. This is zero respect. This is you. You know, go put yourself in a trash can. I mean this as facetious, because he was an awesome man. But that's who she thought you were. You weren't. But I mean, the way she's treating you, dude, I mean, it's unbelievable. Even the day of his murder, when I'll tell you, she knew, right? She is arguing with him until, you know, I think she realized, well, he won't be here this afternoon. I mean, it's sickening. You know, and she's like, okay, yeah, whatever. It's just unbelievable. So yeah, Catherine McBanwa gets her husband and Luis Rivera. They travel from, where were they coming from? I think they were in South Florida. Yeah, they were in South Florida, or maybe Orlando. I'm not sure. But anyway, they traveled to Tallahassee, and Daniel Markel, being the good guy that he is, he's that lawyer, he's, you know, making the money, you know, the fact that, you know, even though he had all that, you know, Wendy didn't give a damn, she didn't give a damn, you know, we've seen looks, money, status. He had status. He was, I mean, premier guy in his field. He had the money. They don't care. That's an added benefit, you know. And a lot of times, in my opinion, the reason why guys want to say money, status, or whatever, is because that's easier to, you know, and I'm gonna say, I hate alpha talk, but the alpha seed's more important, because alpha seed is, you gotta work on your body, you gotta work on your mind, work on yourself, right? Become that assertive person. You know, don't be afraid to approach a girl that you like in public, you know, have that swag, learn how to have that swag, you know, but you gotta learn how to conquer a lot of your demons, you know, that's hard. Making money's easy. Well, I'll just make my money and I'll have this car, and all of a sudden I'll be a magnet for the ladies. You know, and it's like, no, you got to work on yourself. You know, I like the guy, I think he's cool, but I don't like his advice, you know, a lot of his advice. And John Griffin, he's real popular. But again, you know, digressing, but again, about the money thing, you know, he's got tons of followers, whatever, it's fine, I don't care. But it's like, I think he's giving out bad information to a large part. You know, not on purpose, but because he thinks he's figured it out. He's figured out a lot, don't get me wrong. But he's got a long way to go, in my opinion. But and a super awesome guy. I mean, we can hang out, whatever. But we do disagree. Me and him do disagree on, you know, dating. Well, last night he did a video. I saw a video of, he said, you know, we can't figure out women. And he makes jokes. Try to be in a woman's mind. You'll never figure them out, blah, 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 you know. Well, I have figured out women, you know, and I know it sounds arrogant, but I've done it by figuring out myself, because I don't need to figure out women. You know, I do what I want to do. I'm a good guy. I'm 50 years old by now. So, you know, you can have a little more, you know, I'm doing things my way, you know, which I know are cool, which I know are, you know, I'm moral, I have integrity, I have character, you know, and it's like, well, I do things my way. So it doesn't matter. I don't need to figure out what's in her mind. If she wants to be in my life, she'll be in my life. If she doesn't, she won't. I mean, you know, I ain't got time for all that. You know, so why? So again, him even saying that, you know, no, she will cooperate with me and do what I want to do, and not meaning she has to. It's all it's voluntary. You know, like a good buddy or whatever. Like, if you like being around me, you'll stick around. You know, and that goes for anybody. You know, the cooperation you have with somebody is their sign of how much they like you. You know, hey, let's do this. Let's go here. They have free will. They can do whatever they want to do. So I don't need to figure you out. I see, oh, you're not doing what I want you to do. You're not hanging around me. You're not giving me your time and attention. Well, what do I need to figure out about your thought process? Nothing. I need to know mine. And I didn't know that I hold my value, right? So then that's where I take issue with him. And then he starts talking about, well, if you have the looks and you can have looks and you can have good looks and no money, that's okay or whatever, but you can have a lot of money. And he's basically talking about, which part of looks, money, status type thing, you can have, to kind of get girls, right? But in my opinion, it's not true because, like I said, a woman will be attracted to money, like we say, but she won't be aroused by it, and she won't lust after it. She won't. Those feelings are not created by money. You cannot buy that. Now we all know the human condition. I mean, when we all have this experience, if we're around a hot lady or whatever, and she could have an impact on us. If there was an ugly lady, and maybe overweight and just whatever, she just didn't take care of herself, whatever, and you weren't attracted to her, you're not going to have feelings for her. You're not going to have lust for her. You're not going to have desire for her. That's not going to be there. And then she has a bad attitude, then so she could have $2 million, $10 million. The same thing's going to work for women. Now, they do have that, I want resources or whatever, but but not that ain't going to keep her around. It's much stronger if she is lusting after, she wants that presence of who you are. And sexual attraction, go look it up yourself. Sexual attraction is the strongest attraction, not resource attraction. It's like swiping, you can't swipe a credit card and get a girl. I mean, there's been guys that do that, and they get in trouble because the girl, like the Shannon Sharp deal, girls don't respect them. They think they're clowns. But, get a guy that can sling some eggplant like nobody's business, has that assertive attitude, and he even says, well, you can't be a homeless, John Griffith said, you can't be a homeless bum, a hot homeless bum, and you absolutely can. And that might be the nth degree of homeless guy, right? But, like I was saying the other day, is that, people having vehicles or whatever, it's that you're seeing more and more people not have vehicles, right? Or like ladies like, I want you to have a vehicle, or he came over on a bike. Well, that's what he doesn't get. Like, I think he's had money, whatever, that's fine, I don't care. But, he doesn't know, he thinks you still can get women by being the plow horse, by getting that money, not chasing that bag. And again, it's not going to hurt, but I would like to, a lot of guys don't know, if you're not watching or you've never been the broke guy, which I've been broke and had girls, but, they don't care. When you make them lust after, I mean, everybody's known a girl that's dated a hot drug addict, or, the biker guy who's got nothing going for him. Why is she going with that guy and not the guy that's, in the civic club and has money? Because that don't turn her on. So get off this money crap, like I say, the plow horse stuff is had more, it was more valuable. And by the way, Houston Police Memorial, please, there's guys that gave it all over there. Thank you for your service, gentlemen. Heroes, man. Heroes. It's taking a minute, man. Anyway, absolute heroes, man. Anyway, sorry about that. So anyway, yeah. So ends up in this case, the Fredo Garcia and Luis Rivera, they get a rental car and they go to Tallahassee, and they're on video following Daniel Markel, and I guess that's close, me, I don't know, hoping, man. They close, dude. I don't know. I'm not gonna go that way. So but don't look that bad. Anyway, I won't fall in the friggin' bayou. Anyway, so now I gotta figure out how to get back. But they go to Tallahassee, and they basically, how did Daniel Markel drops off his kids at the preschool, and then he goes to the gym. He's on video, and on the gym video, you see them show up, you know, the bad guys, and they're following him. They wait while he works out, you know, and they follow him to his house. See, Fredo Garcia gets out of the car. Daniel Markel's on the phone with somebody. That guy, you know, witnessed witnessed on the phone, heard him. And Daniel Markel says, I don't recognize somebody in my driveway, you know. And that's the diabolical thing of all this stuff. It's like, you know, he had been through hell and back as far as like, you know, trying to get, you know, his kids and everything. He had just won that deal, you know, for her not to move back to South Florida. You know, he thinks he's, you know, doing all right? And, but no, there's people in his life that he's going to the gym and these killers are watching him, you know, as he works out. And that's, so yeah, I mean, and that's why you got, you know, who you have in your life and, you know, who you keep around you and, you know, and how much his wife was, you know, just a witch. And everybody said it, you know. And that was another thing, is he still did not learn he didn't learn that you know, how he should be treated by a woman even after he was divorced from Wendy, because, you know, some of his friends gave a police interview and he had a new girlfriend, and she lived in New York, he lived in Florida, and, you know, he was happy. They've been dating for like 8 months. I think she had some money. She was getting divorced, but it wasn't final. She was pretty. She was very pretty. I think she was a lawyer too, I'm not sure. But and he met a lot of chicks at I guess like conferences. I guess that's a place. I was a corporate person, you know. I worked with those guys, the heroes. But those are the legends. But yeah. So but anyway, yeah. So he goes. So I guess she's coming down to Florida, you know, to hang out and, you know, hang out with Danny and, you know, whatever. They were supposed to be like 2 weeks. And the friend said that she doesn't travel well, and she freaked out when she was here. She left early. She was worried about her son. He has ADHD, and he was in summer camp, and but that's not the case. You know, that's what she was really saying. Like I always say, a woman that really likes you, you know, she is, she's not leaving early, you know, she's staying, and, you know, and that was the thing, she got to Florida or whatever, she didn't like him, you know, so, you know, he's acting like, oh, she doesn't travel well, and her son, those are excuses, the girl that's what Danny, dude, you know, so then he follows her back up to New York. And supposedly they had a breakthrough. They worked it out, you know. No, you don't. No. She told you right there. Because if there was a dude that she just was, you know, had the thing for, dude, she would not leave early. So right there I kind of knew, you know, he still hadn't learned relationships. You know, that's why they're so important. You know, they said he was doing a lot of dating. He was dating another girl. And I guess they planned a day at the beach, and he was really excited, you know, going to the beach, you know. And this lady supposedly was married still, and so allegedly, and I guess he woke her up at some point. That's what they were saying, but it's not the details that matter. It's after he wakes her up, he told his friends, he's like, it just turned weird after that. Like she didn't talk to him the rest of the day, gave him the silent treatment, you know, and it was a horrible trip, you know, and it's like. No, that's a chick that didn't want to be there. And when chicks don't want to be somewhere and you're not getting the hint, they are going to run you. It's the same thing for a marriage or a long-term relationship. If you ain't getting the hint that I don't like you, because women kind of think they respect guys that know them and know how they move. They really do. And when you don't, they're a clown to them, you know, and they think they can do it. I mean, whether it's a feature, not a bug, it is what it is. They're gonna do it. You know, it's something we had to live with. You know, it's pretty cruel at times, but who cares? We can, you know, took half my stuff, and they're gonna do it. You have to operate within the rules of the game, right? So, but yeah, once again, and then there was you know, and then go back to it was his current girlfriend. She also claimed that Danny wanted to make their relationship public. He was very happy, and as he should be, because she was pretty lady with her. She didn't want him to make their relationship public because she claimed, or whatever, that she wasn't divorced yet. So a couple issues there. Number one is, if you go back to, you know, you're the alpha dog in her life, and you that dude, she wants you to be public. She's stroking her ego. You're the big badass, you know. You know, and they don't care if they're married. They won't care. I keep saying that, and that's why, you know, I go back to, you know, we talk about women's solipsism and they're self-centered, and they are. And the beautiful thing about that is, when you that dude, again, I've talked about this before, they're self-centered for you. They're ruthless on your program. They're ruthless to get stuff done for you because they want to impress women. I mean, you know, but a lot of people won't believe me because they haven't experienced it. I have, you know, and when you have, and this is what kind of gave me the epiphany, because I met some great women, you know, not any, the few, you know, the chosen ones I met that just treated me in a different way, you know, were buying me stuff, you know, were buying my groceries, were cooking me food, you know, for a week, you know, were helping me with, you know, whatever they could. And I don't need, like, I appreciate it, you know, but I'm like, wait a minute, it's not about getting them pedicures a minute, no. The real ones, that's what, you know, a lot of guys try to tell you that know this is, look, all that, you know, talk about, they need to give me this, that's for women that don't like me, you know? And so, that's why I'm like, you know, that's the beta part. That they're looking for the betas. That'll be the plow horse for them. You know, because if we say there's 80% of men are betas, which whatever the science will say, then there's always a guy that'll buy her stuff. You know? But those aren't the ones that they give their best to. You know? And like I said, you know, after Wendy got divorced from Dan, you know, she was dating, according to Jeff Lacoste, her ex-boyfriend, who he even said, I was finding affairs everywhere, you know, affairs in his relationship. I was finding her sleeping with all kinds of guys while I was with her, you know? So, you know, and he kept saying she's sociopathic, she was just a train wreck, you know, she's a basket case. For him, she was, because she didn't like him. And she knew that he tolerated her BS, so she clowned him. They'll do that. She didn't like him. So he's thinking that this is a character flaw. And to a certain degree, Wendy, you know, but, you know, there were guys, he talked about certain guys she really liked. I'm sure she treated them a lot different, you know, and that's how it is for women, you know, like, it depends on who you are, you know, for the vast majority. Some people are just lost, just like men. Some men are just lost, dude, and they're jerks, you know, but, you know, you know, with women, they know when to behave and they know when to misbehave. You know, they know how to get exactly what they're awesome people, but, you know, we love them. That's why we study this stuff and want relations to be better, right? But, and I say they know when to behave and they know when to misbehave, you know? And if you have a woman that's misbehaving, or whatever you want to say, or not on your program, or not doing what you want, shout out to Mr. Lucario. If she's not cooperating with you, then she doesn't like you, right? And the more cooperation you get, and that's been a help in my, you know, how I approach women now, because I've met women that cooperate. It's like, I don't need to know if they like me or had what signs, 6 signs to show she's attracted to you. No, just ask her to do something, and if she does it, and it's, you know, the request is appropriate, and she does it, she likes you. If she doesn't, she don't. You know, that's the easiest thing. Like, there's the guy that King, whatever, he's like 6'8", and he goes outside these clubs, and he gets women's numbers, and all these simps are like, look at him go! Oh my God, these girls love him! He's getting numbers, that girl gave him her number! It's like, yeah, but he's just sitting out there talking to them. And they leave or whatever. Get him to ask them to do something. Hey, let's go date Saturday, or hey, do you mind meeting me over here for coffee in a minute? And depending on what she tells him is how much those girls like him. He has no idea whether they like him. So what? They gave him his number. Big deal. We all know the block feature works. So, but yeah, I mean, so that's it's very easy. If you have your standard, know who you are, do what you want. But the fact of the matter is a lot of women won't want to do what you want. A lot of women won't want to be on your program, and that's okay, because I even had to realize, like, okay, let's say I went on, 10 dates in 1 month, right? Well, only about, and we all know, on average, 5 are gonna flake, whatever. Those didn't like you, and then of those 5 you go out with or whatever, only 1 really kind of was into you. 4 of them who just wanted to meet up and have, not be bored, and that's how. So now you can, if hey, I don't do that. Hey, oh, you want to go to a bar? I don't go to bars. I'm sorry, whatever. And if she goes, so now hey, let's go. I'm gonna go work out at 4. You can come with me. You can come, join up with me. I'll be at the gym at 4 if you want to come work out, or just tell her to, right? 4 o'clock on Monday. That's a bad day. It's here. Click. You're done. Now you're not gonna have to put up with BS, disrespect. But there's gonna be a girl out there that's like, this guy's cool. I really didn't want to work out, but I'm going. Because he's so damn cool. And now life is easy. Because I've dealing with chicks that had half interest on. Oh, it is the worst. I will never go if she has 90%. I'm sorry, I won't. Like, I mean, I used to have all these. I could write a book on it, but all these stupid dating stories of, God, this girl did this. I can't believe. I went all the way. True story. Went all the way to McAllen, and we didn't get along. And that's 5.5 hours from where I live. We didn't get along. And we met at a hotel, and so I'm en route back. 5.5 hours for a salad. I mean, that's because I didn't do my homework. I didn't realize she wasn't interested from the start. And I should have known, because why? I told her. She said, "You're gonna have to come to McAllen or something." Yeah, but I'm not coming to Houston. And I'm like, okay. I mean, no. I would say now. Oh, I don't travel. Nope. Do you come to Dallas often? Nope, I don't. But I live here in Houston. You can come to Houston if you want to. That's far. That's it. Now you're done. Yeah. So let's see. Do I need to know anything else about the murder? There's probably a ton of stuff, but I'm going to break down some of the cross-examination. Watch how Wendy Adelson, crafty in her argument. She's super brilliant. But watch how she gaslights. Watch how she deflects. Watch how she changes the definition of what he asked. And this is what women do in general when you're arguing with them, And it's a lot of times, if you're not watching it, that's why you just don't argue with them, because they'll kick our butts. It's okay for me. I don't have a problem saying women can argue better and, wreak havoc on a man. That's why you just stay to your standard. Well, hey, I'm not going to do that. That's not the way I'm going to do it. Maybe the way you do it, but that's not the way I do it. Whatever. I'm not arguing. I'm not entertaining that. How much time you'd save. A lot of times women will say, it's about communication, about how to communicate. Yeah, the reason they say that is because they want to beat you in an argument. They want to convince you. But if you have a standard, because I've even pissed them off, telling them that, like, because they know they're like, I'm like, nah, you just want to convince me. No, it ain't about communication. It's about genuine burning desire for that man. And then I don't have to argue with anybody. Because when you have that for me, you'll do what I want you to do. And when I'm getting that kind of treatment, and I have genuine burning desire for you, if two people have that, beautiful thing. But both people have to be working to perform, So, but yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much, I'll probably do another video on the Adelson case. But like I said, Daniel Markel did not deserve what he got. Wonderful man, just over. I mean, that family was ruthless. Thank God they're all doing life in prison. And like I said, I don't think Wendy will be prosecuted. Oh, I did. A funny fact, like Wendy didn't know, right? The day of the homicide, Wendy, her brother made a joke. He made these offhanded jokes saying, for her graduation, I think it was from law school or whatever, I don't know what it was from, but for her graduation, I could have hired her a hitman, but I got her this TV instead. And he told this joke, and they tried to minimize it. Oh, it's just a bad joke. Everyone makes bad jokes. Everyone makes bad jokes, but they actually appears he did hire a hitman. So that's more. I mean, had Danny not been killed by somebody who did hire a hitman, maybe it wasn't. Let's say it wasn't them. Well, you're the most unlucky person in the world telling that bad joke. But here's the thing. So I guess this TV becomes an issue because the day of the murder, there was a crack in the screen. Lo and behold, the TV cracked, and they had Geek Squad coming to fix it that day from 8 to noon. And they asked Wendy on the stand, did Geek Squad come? What time did they come? And I'm not sure. I don't know. I think it was from 8 to 12. Well, did your ex-husband's murder, did that not occur between 8 and 12? What she was trying to do was say, I wasn't there. I had Geek Squad, and they could testify for me. They're her alibi. And her ex-boyfriend, Jeffrey Lacoste, he even said, it looked like someone took something to it and broke it. He was very suspicious of that. So yeah, I mean, and who fixes a TV at the cost that they are now? I mean, it was years ago in 2014. They weren't that expensive. No one fixes them anymore because you just buy a new one. But yet they had to have Geek Squad there. And on that day, I guess she has a lunch at 12, right? The murder happens right about 11, about 10:58, because there was a guy on the phone. He was telling the police what time it happened. Well, guess who shows up or tries to go by her ex-husband's house, who had just been shot, and no one's called her about it. She tries to go by. And her story is, she was going to get liquor for a Stock the Bar party that night, and she was going to a place called Mosaic. Well, where she had moved to and where Daniel Markel lived, there was like 14, or they counted how many liquor stores were in between where she could have gone. And it wasn't a shortcut. It was like where someone actually drove it, and you could tell there's no shortcut, and then there's, yellow caution tape. There's police blocking the street, and her kids have not been with her. They were with Danny the night before, and she didn't call anybody. Like, oh my God, my kids! Like, there's something going on in the street. Yeah, it was at the end of the street, but come on, man. She just turned her. But why did she go? She just so happened to want to go by that house that day. Right? I mean, it was within an hour, maybe 30 minutes. Come on. She knew. Whether she planned anything or not, I don't think. Who knows? But they told her everything that was going to happen. She knew everything. Guarantee. That's just, and you can tell in the police interview, she's full of it, dude. Full of it. You know, she, you know, and she's told people, you know, oh, I'm going to jail, I'm going to jail. You know, I'm obvious suspect. No, I wouldn't say I would ever be an obvious suspect in a murder. No, I'm not. Definitely not. I don't do that. You know, yeah. So, you know, I mean, that's just, you know, she was too curiosity killed the cat. You know, she thought it was an electrical storm. That was what the caution police tape was, the electrical storm. the prosecutor asked her, well, was there an electrical storm that day? That's what I remember. There wasn't. There was no electrical storm, lady. And they asked, and finally, like, going back to that gibberish thing, you know, I forgot to finish up on that, but they asked her, you know, the judge, it was like impromptu. He said, he wasn't trying to be funny or anything. He said, how do you spell that? And she claimed ignorant. This is the beauty of a game playing idiot like her. I don't know. I'm not sure. Acting all confused. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yet, you know, I bet they had written it in 100 emails. However, the prosecutor then is craftier lady, brilliant. She says, isn't it true? Right when the judge asked that, he goes, isn't it true that you have your husband in the phone contacts or ex-husband as gibbers? Jibbers. So apparently she did know how to spell it. And look at that disrespect. Look at that disrespect. You know, she's got it in the phone contact. This is a man who professed his love to her at one point. You know, I mean, we understand relations end. This is a man who gave her 2 kids, the miracle of birth, kids, and who doted on her kids, who loved those kids, her kids, his kids, you know, their kids. And this is her gibbers. That's who, you know, I mean, just the ultra disrespect. And I mean, had he recognized all this stuff, and how he was being treated, you know, number one, watch your back, dude. Number 2, you know, you're fighting, you know, he was trying to get along with this lady. He was trying possibly to get back together. I mean, and she hated him worse than a piece of trash. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And like I said, the beta knee plow horse, you know, once again gets, you know, just unbelievable treatment. But you got to know these things. I mean, that's the game you're in, you know. You can't be in a football game and go, I want to go to this end zone. It's easier because none of my guys trying to stop me, but those defensive guys over there trying to stop me. So, you know, that's like that's like some of these guys crying about, you know, oh, we got to change things. The women are floozies, and you might want to change the rules in the game, but it ain't going to. So we have to go to that end zone. We got to get it into that end zone. We got to get by all these players. You know, that's, you know. So just get better, get bigger, get faster. Whatever. I'm just saying that's a analogy. But I know I'm probably forgetting a lot of stuff on this murder. But like I said, one more time, a wonderful man who just brilliant, and lastly his dad, Bill Markel. A freaking soldier, dude, warrior. He stayed for all those trials, all those trials. He sat there, listened to the horrendous, stories, just like a soldier, like a stoic, just because he loved his son that much, And that's why we need to, that's why we're trying to, get the information out there, man, and help each other. That's about all I got.